What's up, guys? It's Jenna with Dog Liaison, where I coach you on how to enhance your dog's mental health. If you're new here, welcome. I am a positive reinforcement dog trainer, and I break down scientific research in order to inform us on how to educate and train dogs. Recently, I reacted to Zak George's new dog park video in which he takes his dog Inertia to the dog park, and she displays a lot of stress signals, and there were just a lot of mistakes made in that video. It looks like this. If you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend you go check it out. It is linked in the description box below, and I will also link it at the end of this video. Really recommend you go check out that video. But today, Zak George has released a response video to the criticism that he has received for that dog park video. Now, I have not seen his response video yet. We are going to watch it together today. I have intentionally avoided all of the spoilers. I don't know what I'm in for. It should be interesting. Let's watch it together.
So I want to respond to my recent video where I took Inertia to the dog park for the very first time. My goal here is just to help you see what was going on in my mind and what I was thinking, and just help you understand my thought process and why I thought it was okay to do what I did.
It kind of sounds like he's about to justify what he's done in the video. Let's go on.
I still think it's important to show mistakes. It really just depends on the context and everything else.
Okay, I completely agree that it's okay for us to show when dogs make mistakes. That's realistic. Dogs make mistakes just as much as humans do. I completely agree with that. But these were mistakes that could have been avoided. These were mistakes that he could have prevented from happening in the first place. It's one thing for a trainer to put in all of this necessary steps, all of the necessary criteria, and then the dog still makes a mistake, and then the trainer has to lower the criteria or change the management even further. That's one thing. It's a completely different thing for a trainer to miss all of the signs that things were going south and just keep tugging along and then show it and be like, see, it's honesty. See, it's an honest mistake. Sorry.
Especially dog trainers I'm talking to, you'll understand that there are things that don't go ideally much of the time, you know? And one of the main differentiators here is that I'm just actually showing it. I'm just showing when I screw up. I'm showing when things don't go as I want them to, because I know that's what you guys out there, everyday people, dog trainers, are experiencing in the real world. And if I can just be honest about it and...
Guys, the difference is, there's such a difference. There's such a difference. The difference is that his mistakes that he's making are amateur. The mistakes that he has made are borderline dangerous in some capacities, but you are projecting yourself as an expert in these things, and you're making very amateur mistakes.
Inertia is now 9 months old, by the way. She's only 6 months old in the series. For those of you, wanting to keep up with.
So wait a minute. This video happened 3 months ago. That means he had 3 months to have hindsight. Earlier he was talking about hindsight's 2020. He had 3 months to have hindsight, and he still posted the video.
Okay, so let's get into the main controversy here. This is actually Inertia's pattern with other dogs. She'll at first be a bit nervous, and I believe 100% of the time, or at least very close to it leading up to this, she opens up almost instantly.
Okay, so that's fine. It's normal for a dog to go, whoa, overwhelmed, and then slowly start to warm up. That happens, it's okay. But that wasn't what was going on here. She had minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes of fear. If she was going to warm up, she wouldn't have aggressed in the first place. If you know that she has a history of being shy and then warming up, why didn't you just wait for her to start warming up before you took her into the dog park? You didn't necessarily wait for her to start showing interest and happy interest. And even once you took her into the dog park, she immediately started looking for a flight response. And you were like, well, she'll get used to it. She'll get used to it. First of all, you didn't tell the cameras that. So how are your viewers going to know that? And B, you didn't necessarily let her have her flight response. So even if she was going to warm up, you should have still given her that flight response so that she could have then turned around and told you when she was ready to go back in. And if you really believed that she was going to warm up, then when you took her out, she would have had a time to decompress. She would have told you that she's ready to go back in, and it would have all worked out in the end anyway, right? If that was really your thought.
Like, if this was the first time I had met this dog and I was going into a dog park, there's no way I would have taken a dog into a dog park who was that nervous if it was the first time I had met with them. But again,
so you're only going to take a dog who's that nervous if you've met the dog before. So a dog that is freaking out is okay if they're your own dog and if you know them. But if you don't know them and they're reactive, then you're supposed to not let them go in the dog park. You're only supposed to take them into the dog park if you know them. Silly.
And history matters when you know a dog really well. It really matters when it comes to formulating a game plan for them. Honestly, I did feel pretty confident going into it that she would probably open up just like she had before.
Why didn't you tell the cameras that? If that's really the case, if you know that your dog is unique and your dog is going to warm up, tell the viewers that, because you are speaking to 2 million people. You have a responsibility to tell them, hey, I know inertia's doing this in this way, but it's unique. Don't think that this applies to your dog.
At one point, she gets toppled and run over by another playful dog, well-meaning. Inertia didn't quite know how to react to that, so she does a series of air snaps. When a dog is air snapping like that after they've just been run over by another dog or whatever, they're basically saying, yo, chill. But it was a fear response. She was scared, and she was trying to create space.
It could have been prevented, and that's the point though, right? Is that even if it was a warning, even if it was like, wow, you're coming on strong, we saw the early warning signals, we saw it building, we saw it escalating, and it could have been prevented in the first place. Not to mention that even if a dog goes and has that, whoa, homie, you're coming on strong to me, the other dog, in this case a Malinois, could have been easily like, why are you coming at me like that, bro? And then things escalate. You never know, like he said in the first video, you have a lot of different personalities in the dog park, and you never know how the other dog is going to respond to an air nip. Luckily, this dog was very appeasing and was just sort of like, okay, I'm gonna go over here. Sorry that I pushed down your buttons, right? So his whole body language became small. He immediately apologized, backed away, and was like, I'm just gonna let that psycho border collie over there have her moment because she's going through some things, right? Luckily, he had that social skill. And that's sort of the point, is when you take your dog into a dog park and your dog doesn't have those social skills, it sets off a ripple effect in all of these other dogs. And now they have to be even further on top of their game. They have to be even more socially conscious about their body language and about how they interact with other dogs.
There are a lot of people who are saying, well, you should have corrected her really firmly right then and there. I don't think yelling at a dog for that is going to do anything.
For me, the real problem was not how he handled after the fact, it was how he handled it before the event. For me, who cares whether or not he corrected the dog or not? That doesn't matter. The real point is that it could have been prevented. The real point is that it escalated to a point that didn't need to happen in the first place.
It's a very common myth in dog training also that if you pick a dog up while they're doing something you wish they weren't doing, that you're reinforcing it. You can't reinforce fear by providing comfort to your dog. That's a complete myth. Instead, that's a good example, at least I think, of managing the dog to remove them from that situation.
So let me break that down a little bit, because I know that most common folk are going to look at that and intuitively believe that it's true, right? It is very human of us to want to believe that if we just love something so much enough that, you know, we can just keep the fear away if we just give it enough love, right? But here's the reality of it. While he's sort of correct that you can't necessarily reinforce fear, like you're not necessarily like saying, yes, fear good, right? What you are reinforcing is the idea that this is a bad situation. You are confirming that this is a bad thing. So if a dog is having a negative emotion, is experiencing fear, caution, you know, concern, panic, all the way up to full-fledged aggression, okay? If the dog is displaying aggression, and you turn around and you are like, it's okay, it's fine, then what you're doing is confirming the emotion motivating the behavior. So you are making it a little bit worse by confirming that the emotions that the dog is feeling are correct. On the other hand, he's correct that if you had made it worse by saying, no, 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 bad dog, bad dog, bad dog, then likely you would just be amplifying the stress in that space too. So if he had turned around and corrected her, first of all, she would have become defensive because she would have been like, I'm justified. This dog just came up me from behind and I'm not happy about it. So my emotions are justified. So he's correct that when she did that, he shouldn't have necessarily made it worse.
Personal dog training philosophy is that it's okay for a dog to experience minor stress if they're likely to rebound from that stress. We don't.
Yes, absolutely. No positive reinforcement trainer, at least with any remote education in positive reinforcement, is going to tell you that the world is stress-free. And it's absolutely true that we need to give our dogs coping mechanisms for stress. We need to make sure that they're experiencing stress in a healthy way so that they know how to overcome it and work through it. Absolutely true. However, he just said minor stress, and as you and I know, Inertia was not going through minor stress. Inertia was going through a lot of issues. Minor stress doesn't lead to a dog aggressing.
Like trains, it's important to expose them to trains at varying degrees, starting small and working up to, greater loud sounds or whatever it is. Perfect world.
Oh my God, even in those videos, his dog is like flying underneath his legs and pulling on the leash and fleeing, and he's holding the leash tight. And he thinks that just by letting her hear the sound, that is desensitization, that is socialization. Guys, socialization goes far beyond the dog just hearing the sound. That's what's actually happening. But the socialization part of it is the emotional impact of the event. So the socialization, the learning part of it, is the emotional result of her hearing the train go by. The socialization part is the lesson learned from the event. It's not the event that matters, it's what comes out of the event that matters. That's what's more important. And what came out of what I've just seen in these little clips, and again, I haven't seen the full video, I'm gonna give him the full credit, don't know what the context of these clips are, I'm gonna give him that. But just in these clips, what I'm seeing is that the emotional outcome of these events is bad. She's having a negative response to these things. And he's like, that's socialization. No, it's not.
Ideally, in a perfect world, that can potentially cause some stress, so we do our best as dog trainers, or we should, to minimize that stress and make it as enjoyable as possible. Sometimes that's easier said than done. Now,
listen, he's right. Sometimes minimizing stress is easier said than done. Totally, wholeheartedly agree with that. But not if you have a 6-month-old dog whom you have raised. Then it's not that difficult, especially if you're an expert. You are the expert, Zach. You are supposed to know how to prevent these issues from happening. You are the person that people go to prevent their issues from happening. You are the person that's supposed to say, look, life happens and you are going to run into these issues, and here's how you prevent it from getting out of hand. This is what's going to happen. This is how you should handle it.
if I had known today was a day that she really didn't feel like dealing with a lot of new dogs in that specific type of environment, then I wouldn't have done it. We don't always have that benefit of hindsight.
You did know. She stopped in the parking lot as soon as you showed up. Oh my God. If I had known, I wouldn't have done it. Dude, maybe you didn't know when you pulled up to the dog park. Maybe you didn't know when you took her out of the car, but you certainly knew the second she looked scared.
Here comes the dog again. There's some healthy interaction from the side. They're smelling each other. It's very reciprocal. Really, I'm seeing the body language here.
Dude, he's literally saying, I see the body language here, and he's not telling you specifically what the body language is doing. He's not telling you, where's the tail set? He is not telling you, is the body curved? He's not telling you where the shoulder posture is, ear set is, and where the tail set is, and are they doing a banana curve? And he's not telling you specifically what body language is. So he's sitting there saying, I see body language, but his viewers don't know what that means. And honestly, what it tells me, and I know this is in my opinion, But what it tells me is that he can't see the body language. He's using vague terms because he cannot articulate what he actually sees.
And you know, here again, another healthy interaction. You see her tail wagging. She's so far seen.
Okay, for the record, tail wagging does not mean happiness. Again, remember when I told you when we're talking about body language, we're talking in very objective terms. We do not give emotion subjectivity. So if the tail is wagging, that tells us a state of arousal in the mind. It doesn't tell us happiness or sadness or frustration or, you know, glee. That doesn't tell us anything. So when he's saying, well, the tail is wagging, cool, whatever. But we need to know more specifically that, okay, she's becoming a little bit more stimulated. The brain has become a little bit more excitable. So what we want to do is make sure that we're decompressing that excitement so that it doesn't continue to level up and get out of hand, which, by the way, P.S., it gets out of hand and that overstimulation doesn't decompress, and guess who aggresses? He just said at the very beginning of the video that he takes his role, his responsibility of authority to his viewers very seriously, and that he wants to have integrity and that he wants to give them as much information and honesty as possible. And yet he's still talking in vague terms, which leads me to believe that he probably doesn't have the acumen to articulate what he's actually saying. This is really just indicative of a trainer who is not educated enough to be handling severe cases like this, and this isn't even really that severe, if we're being honest. I mean, in the grand scheme of aggression, this is not that severe, but it doesn't matter. He's still not educated enough to be handling this.
She's not shut down completely. She's still smelling the dog, trying to gather information at a distance.
She's not shut down completely. Does that mean that she's supposed to shut down completely before you start paying attention? Well, I don't understand. Are you insinuating that the dog has to have a full-fledged panic attack and start aggressing towards every single dog before you go, gee, I guess we should leave now? Is that what you're insinuating?
So anyway, I thought it was important to have this discussion. My big question is, should I omit the mistakes from this series or should we include them? I think we should include them. I really believe in telling the real story.
So on one hand, I totally hear what he's saying about wanting to make his videos honest and have that integrity and want to demonstrate that, you know, living with a dog, especially a puppy, results in chaos. I mean, puppies are not easy to raise. Like, I get it. I totally get that. And I think that it's important that we relate to our clients and we relate to our dog owners, our viewers, and tell them that, like, it's okay for you to make mistakes. The world is not going to come unglued just because you forgot to feed one thing or because you accidentally repeated sit or whatever. Like, it's okay for you to make mistakes. However, he has still said that he is an authority in these things. He has put himself on a caliber as a professional who is, you know, selling books, who is worthy of sponsorships, who is worthy of 2 million subscribers, who is worthy of these things. And if you are going to say that you are professional and that you are an expert in these things, then you should not be making these mistakes. The thing is that, like I said earlier, these are amateur mistakes. So if these were severe cases, if you were dealing with a severe, unique issue who was not even your own dog and you haven't been living with them for 6 months, if that wasn't the case, then you probably would be a little bit more justifiable in making mistakes. But even then, it's very small. You get a very small room of error. When you're a professional and you're working with aggression and you're a professional and you're working with reactivity, the margin of error is super small. And if you can't stick within that caliber of expertise, then don't deal with aggression. Stay in your lane. Stick to teaching sit. Stick to teaching down. Stay in your lane. And if you can't handle being an expert enough to deal with these bigger issues, don't record yourself and put it on YouTube as if you can handle those issues. That's the problem with it. The thing is, guys, it's okay for a trainer to not be an expert in everything. Like, you know, unfortunately, culture has made it so that if you are a celebrity dog trainer, you have to be known and perfect for every little thing. Or if you're a dog trainer, you have to do X, Y, or Z. And here's the thing, guys. I'm so happy to have you all here. Like, I'm happy that you guys are my friends and not my new subscribers. But like, I am not your girl to teach your dog spin. Like, I am not going to be able to get your dog to do a gazillion tricks. Like, that's not what you're gonna get from me. What you're gonna get from me is more reactivity, fear, aggression cases and anxiety cases, okay? So I'm gonna stay within my lane, and I think Zak should change to staying in his lane, right? And we won't cross paths, and everybody will be okay. I think that Zak just did not take this as the learning opportunity that he really should have. He was sitting there saying that hindsight is 20/20, but again, he's had 3 months of hindsight, as he just confessed, and he clearly hasn't learned anything. He hasn't articulated that, you know, profound enlightening at all. He hasn't explained how, you know, things are going to change or how he's going to better elaborate. All he has said is, well, do you want me to continue making mistakes? As if making mistakes is justifiable. As if making the mistakes that he did by putting his dog in that situation is justifiable, and it's not. It's not okay. We cannot encourage that. Please speak up. Please tell him, no, I do not want to see those mistakes. Those mistakes are not necessary. You can tell me how to prevent an issue without showing me the issue. That's what a dog trainer does, is it says, look, I know that you could be walking down this path. I want to prevent you from going down that path, so I'm going to show you how to not do that. That's dog training, right? And that's what your channel should be. If you enjoyed this video in honesty, make sure you hit subscribe. Tell me in the comments what video I should react to next. I'm very curious. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all soon.